Good afternoon, everybody. 2:30, 3 o'clock is the best time to present something, because nobody is watching you. I hope you all had a very great lunch and, are enjoying your Samsamas lunch. And, this topic, powering India, it's been being heard since last, especially 5 years. Government of India has its own goal. It started with 500 gigawatt of goal, 500 gigawatt renewable energy. By the time they announced, India was probably at 350 gigawatt of power, if I'm not wrong in the number. And the goal was set 500 gigawatt renewable. And while, I was working with my previous organization, Wari Renewable, one question was commonly asked is, to achieve 500 gigawatt, India needs about 60 to 70 gigawatt per annum of renewable. And will India do it, and I used to affirmatively put thumbs up, yes, India will do it. So what started off as renewable goal, India actually did not achieve 60 to 70 gigawatt. It was only last year that India touched 70 gigawatt of renewable power backed by solar. Now, this wind energy was always lagging. Wind, which started with a great gung-ho bang in 2008-9, and then it had its own downturn, was at 60 gigawatt. So if you look at this policy roadmap of India's transition, in achieving energy security, especially in electricity sector, it has its own speed bumps at every stage. One of the biggest problems that India has been going through in this was center and state. Discoms are actually, big backlog. Center has done its own quite a kind of effort by, doing these tenders through SECI, NTPC, NHPC. Mostly, SECI was at forefront, but the center state, problems have always been a big lagging. Now, while we were, we did 70 gigawatt, certain tenders are being rolled back. Now I come back to my, that goal that India had set up. Why it wants to come back? Because people took grid connectivity and people did not had the wherewithal of land. So the issues then begin, what are the issues in this goal of 500 gigawatt that India has set up? One is connectivity. India doesn't have connectivity until 2029. Until 2029, there is no connectivity available, and it's available in certain pockets, but not at all places. And there is a problem of generating states and the problem of consuming states. The consuming states, they say that they don't have connectivity, and the generating states, if they have connectivity, the ISTS is an issue. So all these, issues, if you sum up, there are 2-3 issues that India is besetted with. One is land, second is connectivity, and third is financing. Financing, of course, somebody else is already topping, so I'll restrict myself to this energy transition that we are speaking, And in the midst of all this, suddenly government comes up with, they still want to go back to thermal energy because there aren't enough people who are coming up with, they are not coming up with enough projects, they are not laying out, land is an issue and all those things. So government comes up with even thermal energy 80 gigawatt. And that's why you see suddenly, BHEL in limelight, that's the place. So, what are the things that the government should do, to actually transition this? We cannot even forget that government's ultimate goal is 847 gigawatt in the near future. So if you are to power so much of energy, what are the things that the government should do? One is, of course, SECI, NHPC, these tenders will go on. One is a policy framework incentivizing the DISCOMs properly. If there is no incentive working, then there has to be a carrot and stick approach as well, We were bidding for one of the projects now, and, I was surprised that our company refused to bid for it for one reason. The DISCOM had B- rating. Now, for the DISCOM B- rating, why would I take a risk of even the payment coming through me, every month? So until this reforms takes place, the energy transition will remain a goal. Just like I mentioned that, for the first time India only did in 1 year 70 gigawatt addition in renewable energy. And especially coupled with the PLF factor, which is lower in renewable energy, actually it is between 20% to 34%. So if you take average, it comes to 50, 51% or 50, 53, 54%, depending upon where your wind turbine is. And there aren't enough wind sites. So foremost, what should government do is it should build a data bank of, consuming states, generating states, land bank, opportunities. That data bank is completely missing from GOI. The center must act on this data bank. That's the first thing. Second thing is, what government did in some of the other sectors in manufacturing or defense sectors is that when the whole project is conceived by the government and then given it to private sector. Since land is the largest issue, government should actually come up with this connectivity and land as a parcel and then offer it on bidding terms. The third issue, of course, that, when on the policy front, when a bidder is putting up a tariff for 15/25 years, he needs a certainty, Suddenly you will observe that, when you are putting up a renewable project, at any time you can feed in the tariff on net metering, and then suddenly government comes up and says that, no, you have to plan 15 minutes ahead. For a energy producing IPP, that's just not possible, He has invested, per megawatt between 4 to 5 crores per megawatt, and you are asking him this policy shift. That's kind of a quite difficult environment for IPP players. So those kinds of, robust policy framework, if I have bid for 25 years, my contract will be honored to the T. Just not the payment, but even in the policy framework. So these 3-4 things which I mentioned, that, data bank and policy framework, conceptualizing on the whole project sum is very, very important, With that note, I will leave this forum with Q&A, maybe, I don't know, now or later on. But these are my thoughts that, how government can achieve energy transition in India. One more note, before I conclude, I would put on the best storage, various storages. It's been 2 years the government has been in talking, There are tenders coming up, but there is no clear-cut policy framework on how government will play out on various forms of storage. There are principally 2 or 3 forms of storage. One is hydrogen, other is battery, third is pump storage. On pump storage, definitely, India has a potential of 80 gigawatt, which government has been talking. But on a policy framework, especially from environment side, once you go to put up any pump storage project, environmentalists will come and stay put, So a clear-cut framework on pump storage is not being heard properly until now. Even on battery front, indigenous technology is not yet ready. We are still reliant on imported technology either from Europe or from China. So government must, actually act on that as well. So, and BESS is very important because if at 50% or 54% PLF factor of renewable, if you have to fill up the gap of balance 40%, 40 odd percentage, then storage is very important. In fact, couple of years back when California power went down, it was up only because of Tesla's battery storage. Such is the power of storage. So policy framework and other inputs that the government needs, are very important in this transition of renewable energy. Thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, happy to address them.
Develop and supply side, but I heard like in India right now is facing some supply issue when it's come to renewables. So in infrastructure side, what's your view, like how we are ready and what we can see in next decade?
So that's what I said, battery we have been speaking since 1.5 years, but government is taking its own sweet time. One of the examples of lack of policy framework is like ALMM, it has come out in modules and wind. There is yet to come out a clear-cut roadmap for battery energy storage system. So I said principally in works are 3 energy storage systems, which is battery, pump storage and hydrogen. Hydrogen essentially you are converting from solar and wind to hydrogen and green ammonia, which is in a stored form. okay, to be used in mobility or in other form. But principally, when you are converting, in hydrogen, the economics do not work today. So they are left out with two forms of battery storage. One is battery, another is pump storage. But battery still there's no clear-cut framework from government except some PLI. They have given PLIs to companies, but that's not policy framework. The roadmap for next 5 years, 10 years is very essential when people invest money, and that's been the bane in most of the sectors with government.
So a related question, like one is PLI schemes government like initiating. Apart from that, what do you think? Like what other things government may push or think of? Like so, corporates can feel like for next 5 to 10 years be easy roadmap like you mentioned. So what other things government should focus on? Like,
See, for corporates, it's very simple. It's a return game. Corporates won't invest money unless they see a certainty. So, like, R&D also, government has for the first time come up with a budget fund of 1 lakh crores for 50 years. That's first time. But they don't look at R&D as a policy framework. So when I speak about battery, the roadmap is how fast or how soon the government will make it happen. They want domestic. If domestic is not available, will they import it? Sudden knee jerks are what is not liked. So that roadmaps, that policy framework is completely missing right now. And it is because there is a need, and government has recognized it needs. There's a separate Ministry of Renewable and Energy Department within the power and energy sector. Despite that, all these lackings are happening.
thank you, sir.
More than that, from government side, to be tariff barriers is something they can consider for curbing the import in India, as far as you have the domestic capacity available for manufacturing of BESS.
So-
Again, it's something like PLI, some sort of something they can come up with to promote the manufacturing in India.
So PLI is a scheme. It's not a policy as such. You have to declare, how often you will come out with such policies, schemes, or what is your roadmap in the end. Like when you announce 600 gigawatt, they announce that they want from solar 280, from wind 220. That's a policy framework. So they have to come up with tenders also in that proportion. Okay. And what will be the route to tenders, because reverse bidding was one bane for solar industry, it made tariffs unviable. So what will happen in that space? So that is what is lacking from government as of now. Apart from the two other things which I mentioned, that the data bank for where is the consuming states, where is the generating states, how they are dealing with that, and what are the projects available there. These are low hanging fruits that they can always do.
Sir, I have two questions. One, from June 26, government is coming up with the full DCR planning. So there is a big deficit between the requirement, consumption, and the availability of DCR cells. How the industry is looking at this gap?
So, again, nobody has a clue on it, So when the D-Day comes, they'll ask for an extension. That's what has happened in modules, that's what has happened in cells. That's what has happened even in wind also, when wind transition from RLMM to ALMM.
Right.
They just proved that, 56%, because blade is manufactured in India, they declared it ALMM. But the heart and soul of wind is not just the blade, it's the turbine.
But as the prices of the panels has gone high in last few weeks, so there is a perception on the rumors in the market, DCR and the non-DCR will become on the same price. This is how Wari has gone, like prices are gone like 17 and 18 rupees for the non-DCR. So this is something which is going to be realistic, like DCR and non-DCR will be on a similar price soon?
So in module also, the differentiation is already there, So modules with DCR is about 22, 23 rupees, and without DCR is about 15 to 16 rupees. So that delta will always be there.
Always be there.
The government is okay with that because it's a function of economics at the end of the day. So when you bid for DCR, your tariffs have to be on a higher side.
Yes, and DCR degradation is on a higher side despite of the higher pricing. So ROI comes later.
No, ROI will, it's always be, if it's a DCR, the bidder will always know that his economics are higher, is what I'm saying.
And the performance is also down, despite of
performance is factored in your warranties, so it's a matter of economics again. It's a matter of, again, economics when you bid
the
for
case become non-viable.
So when I go and bid for a project, I just don't go, DCR is available at 22 rupees, so I will bid at, no, 22 with degradation is what I will factor in. So whether it is 22 or 23 is a matter of degradation also for me.
Economics actually
It's
change.
all economics.
Okay, and second question, like most of the tenders are in 25 years PPA, 20 years PPA, and now the government is coming up with some 25% BESS in all the tenders. But BESS warranty is only 10 years, maximum.
That is because the battery life itself is 10 years.
Yes, so now there is a misproposition. Like how the things will go, because after 10 years, if we'll go with the replacement, then the prices will change haywire.
No, if your PPA is 25 years, you will factor in that after 10 years you have to replace.
Yeah, now we have to factor in. We have to start factoring in
Yes.
because it is just started. So now the price is like 3 rupees, 4 rupees. So it will go to like 6 rupees because
So people will apply some futuristic probabilities that your inflation is 3.5% or 4%. So that with that probability only you have to go.
yeah, as of now we only change consideration of inverters. Like
So one change that is coming up in BESS is instead of in some tenders it is coming, instead of tariff, they are saying ki annuity model. What is happening in transmission? So in an annuity model you are good, because you will get the same annuity after 10 years.
like how it works.
So let's say if the annuity is 11% or 10%.
Okay.
So when the replacement cost comes, you will get paid on that replacement cost 10%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So replacement go 10%.
Yeah. I'm just theoretically putting, it could be 8%
Okay.
also.
Okay.
Because transmission works at 8 to 9%.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Sir, any initiative that government should take to encourage MSMEs for manufacturing of solar panels?
See, solar, there are two views. One is it's a high capital sum game, so there's no MSME in that. What government can consider is what are the components in module that can be given to MSME. Okay, but in the moment you try this, kind of a classification and allocation, you are stifling competition, you are stifling innovation. So there are always two sides. MSME problem is not what they should do, MSME problem is only financing. So timely financing is what is important for MSME. That government has tried several times. They have come out with MSME Act, 16% interest if you do not pay to them on time. Then they started with TREDS, for MSME. But nothing is working, somehow. So thank you. No, I'm just waiting for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dilipji, and the question answers were really engaging, and I believe they'll help the industry get more clarity.